Hey everybody, this is Stephen Gregg again, the mentor for the masses, and I'm excited today because I have one of my best friends here that we're going to be talking about some things that are very, very important right now, which I believe are one of the most important things we need to understand, which is real estate. Real estate investing right now, if you are in real estate or if you're considering getting involved in real estate, you're going to hear from someone today that I believe can help you and tremendously help you get the knowledge and the skill sets of what you need to be successful in real estate investing. How do I know this? Because we've been in business for a long time together. We've known each other for a long time. And we kind of started in the business years ago. What was it, about 10 years ago or so, at about the same time. But this gentleman got the information that we learned. He took it, applied it, and became, I don't even know how to explain it. He's pretty much a mogul, in my opinion, from my perspective. But I can tell you right now, he's still just like you and me. He's a normal guy. He works hard for his living and takes care of his family. But most importantly, he cares so much about people. And that's why he's here today. So please help me welcome my good friend, Matt Theriault. Hey, Matt, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, Steven. Living the dream over here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, man. I'm excited that you came to speak to everybody today on the summit. We got a lot of stuff I wanted to ask you. I got some questions because the people that are here today, there's a lot of people that are watching this. There are people that are in, direct sales or that are in some type of network marketing business or whatever. And, a lot of people have, insurance and 401ks and stuff like that. And they're turning into 101ks or 0.1ks. And, there's other people that are just out of work. There's people that, got hit by this virus where they shut down the whole country or the economy worldwide for that matter. And there are people that are looking for something to do, some way to generate an additional income. And, I've been talking about real estate. I've been talking about insurance and different types of industries. But I believe that real estate right now, I know what you've done in it, but I want people to hear about your story, first of all, who you are, what you're all about, how you got involved, and maybe some of the struggles you went through. And then maybe we can touch on a little later about some of the successes you've had and what you've done with it. Because I believe real estate investing, if people really understand that market right now, they can do some great things with their life. So Matt, tell us a little bit about you, man. This story, this floor is yours. So a little bit about you, about your background, and how you got involved in real estate.
Sure. I think I can actually, even though I'm doing okay as we're going through this virus right now, I think I can relate with a lot of people that are hurting right now, and they're looking for some answers, and they're looking for something maybe new to do. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I spent the next 15 years or so of my life in the music business. Did really well for myself, made my million by the time I was 30. And I got struck by a virus way back then. There's this virus called the digital download. And when that came along, it changed the way the world consumed music. And essentially in 6 very fast months, it put me out of business. I filed bankruptcy. The wife wasn't too happy with that, so she took off, so got divorced. And at the age of 34, I went out and was looking for work and discovered there wasn't a whole lot of demand for out of work or unemployed entertainment entrepreneurs. And that was all that I knew how to do. And that was a very scary time in my life because the job market had kind of told me what my value was, because I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have any sort of credentials or any other skill other than I had a good ear for music and I knew how to market it and sell it. And so I ended up bagging groceries for about 6 months. And I mean, I literally went from a 7-figure year that previous year to $7 an hour. And that was quite the humbling experience. And that's where I might be able to relate with a lot of people, because if you've done well for yourself and then lost it, it can be a really tough spot to find yourself in. Perhaps even a tougher spot than if you've never really experienced the success at all, I think. And so I knew I wanted my life back, and I really missed the money. I'll just be straight. I missed the money, and I didn't know what else to do, but I knew I was going to have to learn something new. And the most unlikely mentor came to me, and what happened to be the grocery store manager. I've been back in grocery there about 6 months. I was 34 years old. He was about 34 years old. He was exactly 34 years old. So we had a lot to relate on with regard to life, but he was managing the store and I was pushing the carts. And he said to me, Matt, if you want your money back, he said, real estate, it's the final frontier where the average person has a legitimate shot at creating real wealth for themselves. And so, that really perked my ears up because I knew I had to learn something new, and I wanted whatever I learned, I wanted it to be lucrative. And if he said, this is the final frontier, and he said it for the average person. And at that point in my life, I was feeling well below average. I was like, yeah, let me look into that. And then he went on to just share with me some statistics and what he had done in it with his real estate investments. He'd been there at the grocery store. He started bagging or pushing carts there when he was 16 years old. He was 38, so he only had 2 more years till he was in there his 20-year retirement. And he was going to be able to pull out about 70% of his full salary at 20 years. And he'd showed me, he had this little portfolio of this book, he was very proud of his buildings. And he showed me all these apartment buildings. He says, look, I've been able to acquire this over the last 18 years. I mean, he wasn't out there fixing and flipping and wheeling and dealing. He was just slowly, methodically taking on and acquiring these little multifamily properties. He says, I make more money now from my multifamily than I do from my job. And so that was all I really needed to hear. So I went home that night and started Googling everything real estate and discovered that I had an aunt I hadn't seen this aunt in probably 15 years. And she was just a couple cities over from me. And she had been the #1 real estate agent there for the last 30 years. She'd been there for a really long time. And I had no idea. So I had just fired her off an email and went to bed and woke up in the morning and she had responded. We had lunch that day. Within 24 hours, I was in real estate agent school. I thought that's where I was supposed to start. I thought you're supposed to get a license. And so I did pretty good there for a while. I got rookie of the year and for 4 years or so. And then there was this one day where I remember very vividly where I had a couple clients. One client in particular was just the great client. It was like the dream client. And he would just fax me orders, basically, listings. And I would just sign them up and I'd get paid. It was like the easiest thing I've ever done. And there was one Saturday morning where we had a meeting to sign some papers. And I showed up at 10 o'clock and I was in my suit and tie. He was about 20 minutes late. He showed up 10:20. He showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, signed the documents, and he took off for the weekend. And then I was left there to process the paperwork and I had to go hold his house open. And I was like, gosh, if this is the final frontier where all the money's at, I think I'm sitting on the wrong side of the desk because I want to be him, right? So I made a decision at that moment in time that I wanted to be a real estate investor. I wanted to do what he was doing. He was having too much fun and too busy, and he didn't want to take me on as a mentee or anything like that. So I went out searching for a training program to get me into being an investor or some sort of education or something like that. And that's where you and I crossed paths. And it was really a great opportunity because it had a direct sales element to it. But it was really fortunate. And I didn't realize how fortunate I was at that time. Looking back now, I can see how fortunate I was is how solid and great that education was. It was a really good program. And, I made that transition, decided I wasn't going to represent anybody else in their real estate transactions. I was just going to represent myself. And, probably about 3.5, 4 years, I was able to get the passive income from my real estate to exceed my monthly expenses to where I was financially free. And we hear that a lot, that term, and it has a pretty broad definition. And, everyone has this idea that maybe that's when you're super wealthy, right? But really, I'd been exposed to this book, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, and they had this definition of what it takes to escape the rat race. And all you had to do is just get your passive income to exceed your monthly expenses. And I was like, okay, well, I can do that. So you can do that in one of two ways. You can increase your income, the passive income, or you can decrease your expenses. Or you can if you do both, you can go really fast. And that's how I was able to do this 3.5, 4 years. So I essentially retired for about 40 days or so. I was financially free, was not wealthy, but I didn't have to get up and go to work if I didn't want to. And that was a big epiphany because even when I was making a lot of money in the music business, I still was kind of only as good as my last release. I had to hurry up and make another release to put it out there to keep the billing going. And so when you go through that up and then down and then climbing your way back up again. And all of a sudden you have this freedom. A lot of people in your network, your friends and your family, they take notice. And they're like, what are you doing? You were just bagging groceries like, a couple years ago, and now you're playing golf on a Tuesday. What happened? And so a lot of people invited me out for coffee and lunch and dinners and can I just pick your brain? And I was like, wow, maybe there's some demand for this. Maybe I could start teaching this as well. Because I think it was one thing that we had heard, Stephen, in that company we were involved with together. And I don't even know if this is true or not, but I just remember this, and I can't really remember who said it. I think it was I forget his name. It doesn't matter. But they said this is how millionaires become millionaires, or how the wealthy get wealthier, or something. Is they find one thing that they're really good at, and they create multiple streams of income from that one thing. And a natural second step for a lot of people, regardless of what their industry or their skill is to start teaching. And so that's exactly what I started to do. And that became a really good second income for me. And we started a podcast. We're on our 11th year of the podcast. When I started a podcast, no one even knew what a podcast was. And we built a little membership site. This was like a groundbreaking thing. You can post videos and put a membership access inside of this website, and people will actually pay you money to access it. That was so groundbreaking back then. And we just kind of created this little virtual training platform, and it just grew and grew and grew. And, here we are today. Fast forward, I've got a portfolio of almost 50 houses, and I got 50 seller finance notes. So we have a good balance there. We have a training program that does extremely well. We have a fund where people can invest and kind of hitch their wagon to our wagon and follow along. And then we have a turnkey operation where we help busy professionals build their passive income portfolios through real estate so they can retire early. And so we do all of those things here at Epic Real Estate Now. That's the company. And here we are.
Yeah. Wow, man. And I love hearing how, you went through the ups and downs, just like everyone here right now. Some people are going through their ups and their downs. But the thing that it sounds like that you did is you made a decision, and you listened to the people that were around you, and you looked at what they were doing, and you kind of mimicked what they did. You found people that were more successful than you at a certain thing. They didn't have to be successful at everything, but they were more successful at certain things. You learned what they did, you mimicked it, and you applied it in your life. And that's what it sounds like you did.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's awesome, Matt, because that's what a lot of people right now that are listening to this, need to really think, is real estate something for me? Because it could be. And here's one big question I know a lot of people are thinking, because I kind of know the answer, because I know what happened with myself and my wife years ago. We bought 30 houses with no money and no credit, but that was years ago. Tell me today, let's say somebody is in a challenging situation. Let's say they have some money in a 401k. They don't have a lot, but they have some. And they want to get the knowledge of being a real estate investor, and they want to start doing something to start making some type of that passive income you talked about. Do they have to have boatloads of cash to be a real estate investor, or can they start where they are?
They can start absolutely where they are. When you start working with off-market real estate and looking for off-market deals, going to the source, the same place where the real estate agents go and find their listings to put them on the multiple listing service and make that retail, and that's on market. Once you learn how to go into the same well that they're going to and interact directly with property owners, you can get really creative. And something I've really a cornerstone of our education is you don't need actual currency as much as you need intellectual currency. And the more you have of one, the less you need of the other. They work back and forth, kind of like a little seesaw, right? So the smarter you are and the more equipped you are with what you're able to do in the private sector of investing in real estate, really you discover the less and less actual money you need to invest.
Yeah, and I know that to be true because my wife and I years ago, we bought 30 houses with no money and no credit because we had the knowledge of what to do. Mm-hmm. Is that what you do when people come to work with you? Is that kind of some of the things that they do that you do for them? You show them different strategies of how to think differently, and then how to go out and make deals and create magic from nothing. Is that kind of what you do in your strategies?
Yeah, it's absolutely. I think working together with you, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, there was a saying floating around. I don't know who said it. I think I probably did hear it from you first. I don't know where you heard it from, or maybe you made it up yourself. But I just remember people are always aching and moaning and groaning about their money challenges, right? And I remember the quote, and this is a big cornerstone of our education over here now as well, is like, you don't have a money problem, you have an idea problem. And that's transformational thinking. And it's so right on the money. And it's probably even more relevant inside of real estate investing, because there's these things called terms. So that's like these ideas are really, we call them terms, and how you can buy houses and invest in real estate on terms. And it's basically really just taking an idea and putting it in place of the money that the layman would think that they need. And so, yeah, I forget what your question was. I'll get
No,
excited
no,
and I'll get off on a tangent.
that was perfect. It was like almost a perfect segue because you don't know, but I've had other speakers so far that I've said that exact sentence to multiple times, and I think
Okay.
I invented it. I don't know because I don't. I usually know who I learn things from. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember anyone taught me that. So I think it was maybe I don't know. I can't remember, but I do know I've been saying that for a long time. I just can't remember where I got it from. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and keep it as mine. No
Yeah,
problem. That's
you can
fine.
keep
I
it.
got a pat on that one.
I gave you credit for it for a few years, and now I don't do that anymore.
It's all yours now. See, that's how you
Yeah.
work. You give credit for a few years and then it's yours. That's right.
Yeah.
So I probably did the same thing. But yeah, you see, that's the thing a lot of people right now that are watching this, they don't really get that it seems like a money problem when you're in the middle of it. But like, give an example the other day, there's this big system that I wanted to get involved in. And I was talking to my wife and I was thinking, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? And this is something that's revolutionary that I just learned the other day too. I used to always say, how can I, how can I, how can I do it? 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 And then I was watching this training that I had paid for and I was listening to it. And the guy said, you know what? One of the things you got to learn to do is stop saying, how can I? And say, who can?
Right.
Who can do it? Who
Yep.
can do this? And then I was like, that's a great way to think because it's the same thing. I had to change my idea. So I said the one question, who can? I talked to my wife. 10 seconds later, we came up with an idea, and boom, a bunch of cash came in a short period of time, and some ideas flew, and my whole business model shifted in a matter of minutes. As a matter of fact, this event came out of that idea. So that's how fast things can change. Like you said, people don't have a money problem, they have an idea problem. And ideas can happen instantly.
Yep.
And that's where getting together with mentors like you, like myself and others that, that you're hearing from can really help you. And if real estate's the direction to go, getting the right mentor is important. Speaking of that, you've had mentorships over the years and you are a mentor now. You've been a mentor, you've been a mentee. Why do you feel it's important for people right now at this time to invest in themselves? Because you can invest in a house and a house will pay you a little bit of money. Mm-hmm. Why is it more valuable for them to invest in themselves as an investment? Why would you say that?
Well, I kind of have two answers for it, maybe, and one for maybe pre-COVID and one for post-COVID. And first one is that, in society, we are compensated direct proportion to what we do, how well we do it, and how difficult it is to replace us. And, so you have to, what we do, you have to pick something that has a value out in the marketplace, right? And then how well you do it. So you got to get good at it. And then how difficult it is to replace you. So you want to be the best at it so that there's not a lot of people out there that can do what you do. And that just comes from making massive investments in yourself and practicing your skill, practicing and drilling and rehearsing, right? And so that's always going to be important as long as we're in a free market. When it is speaking of right now, the world is changing so quickly. I read this somewhere. There's it's actually a video. It's called Shift Happens, and it's on YouTube, and I think they update it every year. And but there's a comment that they say in there, and they give out all these amazing statistics, and you're like, your mind is blown on these numbers. So I'm not gonna try and repeat the numbers, but I'll try and mimic the example that they gave us. But they were just saying that people in a 4-year college right now that are entering college are preparing for a job that won't exist when they get out. That's how fast the world is moving right now. And so you've got to be constantly investing in yourself, because the skills you need that you've got today might not have as much value tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's important to invest in yourself, because you are your product line. You are the machine that produces the money. You know, a lot of people would rather invest in a house or in a property or in a business than invest in their knowledge and their skill set so that they can go buy multiple houses. Right?
Exactly.
You could have easily have taken some money and bought one house and have some rent coming in. Well,
I hear
you
that all
learned
the time.
skill and you bought multiple houses, and probably without even using any of your own money, right? Because you have the knowledge.
We hear that all the time, because our my private clients, to get into my private client group, it's not cheap, and you could probably buy a house. It's a good down payment for a house. And we hear that every once in a while. Like, why would I give you this money when I would be better off just going and buying a house? I was like, well, yeah, maybe. But once you bought the one house, then what are you going to do? Right? You don't know what to do other than have to go save up another down payment. What if you could take that one down payment, invest in yourself, and leverage that into 10 properties that didn't take nearly the amount that it would have taken if you hadn't invested in yourself?
And I think right now, especially during this time, this is the time to do it. We got all this time. We got the internet, which years ago we didn't have. You know, when we started learning this stuff, we had to go to a school. We had to physically go. You know, and that was only a short 10 years ago or 12 years ago. We had to physically read papers and do. It wasn't nowhere near like it is now. Where now, you know, if they want to learn, they can learn from the comfort of their own home. Either on a phone or on like what we're doing right now on Zoom. I'm sure the people that are watching are getting some tips just from what you're saying without having to leave their house, you know, and that didn't happen 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Right.
So the knowledge that we can get now, there's no excuse. Lack of knowledge should be no excuse anymore. Yeah. You agree?
Totally. I mean, shoot, we're in the information age, right? That's the age we're moving into. And I forget what I forget the other age. I'm not even going to pretend to know and be really smart, because I'm not. But
you don't need to be that bright to do real estate investing, right?
Yeah, exactly. The information is readily available, but you have to consume it. And I think there's so much information, you can get bogged down. So I think making that decision of what you want and focus on that just-in-time learning, where so many people are focused on consuming everything, and this what we'd call just-in-case learning for all these hypothetical scenarios of this might happen, I would be prepared for everything. And all you're really doing is projecting your fears on yourself and your situation into your future, and you want to be prepared, and you get ready to get ready, and you got this analysis paralysis thing going on, and it's not productive. I've got probably 15 little quotes that I've gotten from you, Stephen, that have been transformational. And one of them was, travel as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll see further.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a shorter distance between from where you are and where you want to be than following that advice.
Yeah, take a person as far as they can see. That's what we do as coaches. We take a person as far as they can see. And when they get there, they'll see further. But you can apply that, like you said, to yourself. Go as far as you can see. So if you can only see that next step, which is picking up a phone and calling somebody for help, then that's the next step you take. And then once you get there, you'll see the next step. And that's what you're talking about. That's awesome. And I'd love to hear all those 15 quotes, because I'm sure all those 15 quotes, if you got them memorized, you got them at the tip of your tongue, or at least a couple of them, they won't want to hear them, because I got probably hundreds of them in my head, but they don't want to just hear from me. They want to hear from you. They want to hear, you know, how you did it. You know? Right.
I wish I had them all memorized. Like I could have them in a list. They come up just like this, though, when the right circumstance or the context comes up. That's why that one just came up. Yeah. So you don't have a money problem. You got an idea problem. Travel as far as you can see when you get there, you see further. I don't know. It'll come to me. I promise.
It'll come to you. It'll come. Well, let's talk about.
Because I talk about them all day long. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So you've been doing this now for a while, so I'm sure you have some success stories. I'm sure you've worked with some people that have invested in themselves, came to you desperate, hurting, or maybe not hurting, doesn't matter, but they came to you and they said, I want some help learning real estate. They knew nothing. and then they learned something, and then they did something. So what I want you to do is share maybe a success story or two of people that didn't know anything, maybe in a situation even like right now, and then now they are, owning real estate and doing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really easy. When I would share my story with people, as I just shared it now, and I said I was able to escape the rat race in 3.5 to 4 years. I was able to create my financial freedom in a very short period of time, respectively, of how most people go about it. And um, I was met with a lot of skepticism and cynicism in the beginning, and a lot of doubt. And what's this guru talking about? It sounds like a scam artist or a get rich quick scheme, stuff like that. I heard it all the time, and it was really nice, and it was very liberating to be at a place like, I'm financially free. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care whether you believe me or not. I'm going to be just fine. You go on about your job and you do your thing. So I never said that, but I had that feeling internally. I was like, okay, that's fine. It didn't bother me. It didn't ruffle my feathers at all. And I always think about, or I would think about, if I had to do it all over again, knowing what I know now, I could do it probably a lot faster, but I don't really want to share that because that'll really blow their head. Right. Then I'll get tomatoes thrown at me. It's witchcraft, it's sorcery, something like that. So I didn't, it wasn't important enough for me to go ahead and just rid myself of all my worldly possessions and start over from scratch to prove somebody wrong. But what I was able to do was to take students through that process. And there's a few of them. There's Parker, there's Corey, there's Brad, there's who else? Mackenzie.
Just share one of their stories.
Yeah, I mean they're all very similar stories, so I could interchange the names pretty easily. But we started working together. I said, okay, most real estate investing education is so focused on the quick flip, right? And I just kind of showed them the math that if you focus on the flip and keep doing the flip for these big chunks of money, it's a really long road to get to your freedom, right? You might make some money. You're gonna do well. You're gonna be working hard for sure, but the freedom is going to constantly elude you if that's your approach. So I just kind of reversed that, and let's focus on the income that the real estate can produce rather than the chunks of cash it can produce. And it starts off a little slow in the beginning, but when you project it out and actually look at the math on a spreadsheet, you can see you're going to reach your financial freedom so much faster and with less work. It's the work is still difficult, but the decision is how long do you want to do difficult work? And so I would lay that out for them and say, okay, so this is the focus. And, all three of those names, Brad, Corey, and Parker, were able to accomplish what I accomplished personally. They did it in about 13, 14 months. So in Parker specifically, I mean, he was 24 years old when we met. Corey was 22 years old. Brad was a little older. He's 31, 32. But these are people that are financially free. Like they are escaped the rat race. They have enough residual income coming in on a daily basis or a monthly basis that pays their monthly bills. Corey specifically, I mean, he's kind of one of my superstars. He kind of lives the life that most 20-something-year-olds would want to live, with music and party and the girls and the cars. And but he does all of that. But couple of the cool things he was really able to do, he was able to retire both of his parents. He retired his dad first, then he retired his mom, and then he bought them a house, and then he went and built his own dream house on the lake. And he did all of this. He's not even 30 years old yet. And that's what it's funny when people say, I've got a job that makes $30,000 a year, or I'm going to get this job, and they'll applaud you and they'll congratulate you and they'll believe that. But when you can house for 30 grand and then take that 30 grand into an income property and repeat that process over and over again, people doubt you. And you can't do that in a year. It takes, 30 years. It takes a lifetime to create your financial freedom. And it really doesn't. And people just aren't exposed to that. And once they discover it and see the path, it's great for me and my family, but it's pretty rewarding to watch other people mimic what I did and do it faster than I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. And I've been watching that from you, and I've been watching that with a lot of other people as well. And, something that was just intriguing that you just said a little while ago, we talked before we got on this call, and we were just talking about some things, and you were telling me about a program you put together. You had another idea, right? And one of the things I've been telling people, and if you're listening to this information, one of the things you want to do is absolutely start building your email list. You want to start building your database because we've heard the money is in the list. If you work a job, your company, their whole profit center is in their database. The amount of customers they have, the amount of prospects they have in the database that you've been getting for them or the other sales reps have been getting for them, that's their business. Okay, and the inventory kind of supports it. So it's so important to understand that the money's in your list. And I want to I told Matt I wanted him to share this situation that just happened because so you can understand how real this is. It's so important that you start building your email list and database for a reason. And it's because when times get tough like today or that are challenging for a lot of people, they may be tough for everyone, but they don't have to be tough for you if you have a list, if you have a database. So, Matt, I know earlier we were talking and you shared with me about this idea you came up with, and then you sent out an email and something happened. So maybe can you share that story so people can see the power of having a list?
Sure. We live in a very different time than even just 10 years ago when you and I met, with all the different platforms that we have. Like everyone has a platform. Like there's YouTube, and then there's a Facebook, and then there's the podcast, and there's the Instagram, and now the TikTok has taken the world by storm, and there's LinkedIn. And you can choose all of these different platforms, or you can just choose one, and you can speak and reach to a lot of people for free. To reach 10,000 people, 15 years ago over the radio or over a cable TV channel would cost you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it'd be very limited. It only, that message would only last as long as your bank account could support the marketing for it. But now with just starting a podcast or a YouTube channel or just going live on Facebook, all these things that are essentially free to do, you build an audience. But you need to be able to communicate with your audience at will. And that comes by way of creating a list, an email list. People are doing text lists now where they're capturing phone numbers and emails. And now there's two different types of communication you can do with that. But what we were talking about earlier, just to bring you up to speed, was, at any given moment, I come up with an idea, right? Because I don't have a money problem. I got a new idea and something that's worked for me. And I know other people would find value in that if I shared that with them and walked them through the process and gave them some shortcuts so they didn't have to go through everything that I went through. And I can just blast out an announcement to that list. And some people raise their hand, I want to be part of it. And a lot of people won't. And I'm perfectly okay with both sides. But I have the ability to do that just about any time that I want to. And it's because I have control of that list, and I built that list. I built that fan base.
Yeah, and I know right now you're trying to hold back, so we're not going to do that today. Today is to be real and raw. So we're going to let people know the numbers, because they don't. That sounds great and dandy, but what actually happened? You sent out an email. You told me what happened, but I'm not going to say it. I want you to say it.
Okay.
You sent out an email. Yeah, we ain't got to hold back here. These guys, everybody that's watching this, they want to hear the real skinny. They want to hear, really, can I make some money by building a list? Can I make some money if I start nurturing and doing these Facebook stuff? Can I make some money with it? So you send out an email. And what happened? What was the result from that?
Yeah, so I'll give you something really tactical. I'll give you something useful that anyone that can duplicate once you have your list, or even if you have a list right now, and even if it's smaller in size, or if you have an old list that's kind of died on you and they stopped reacting. This strategy that we employ, we do it about 2 or 3 times a year. It wakes up old lists. It creates excitement in new lists. And it's what we call the 9-word email. And I think a guy named Dean Jackson is actually who originated it, but a lot of people use it now. And it started with, he came up with this strategy, a 9-word email, because it was just in one single email that consisted of 9 words. And for example, in our context, it might be, hey, Steven, are you still interested in real estate investing? That would be the whole email, right? And just a question mark and then my name. And then, so you send those out just like that. It feels very personal. In fact, I think we even use that in the subject line. We use personal. We just put the word personal in the subject line. And then you just wait for those responses to come back. And because it feels like a very personal email that you sent just to them, you get a really high response rate. And because of that nature, that organic nature and feel that it has, you have to respond in person. So you might blast them out in a big mass, but when the responses come back, now you do have to respond back individually. And so what we would set up is just what we call a canned email. It's inside of Gmail, so you don't need a special, a special program or anything like that. And it's just a pre-written thing like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm starting this new program. We're going to do this. This is what you can expect. This is what it's going to do for you. This is how much it costs. And do you want to participate? Just click this button or click this link. So that's all preset. So each email that comes back, we just go ahead and do an autofill and send it back out. And people will click and join. And so we just did that again here over, we're about 2 weeks into our program. And so we did this about 4 weeks ago. And we had, the price point was $2,100 for a 6-week program. And we had 133 people sign up. So I don't know, what's that number? 200 and something, right?
So let me make sure I'm clear what you just said. Mm-hmm. So you sent out one email, and then it came back and you sent out the response to that one email to a list that you've been developing.
So only the people that were interested, right?
Only the people that were interested, right. And then you sent that back out, and 133 people responded to a $2,100 offer of a product that you didn't have yet. An idea that was in your head, correct?
This is true too, yes.
So you didn't even have a product. So let me make sure I'm clear. You had no product. Mm-hmm. You created a 9-word email and then another follow email behind it with a buy button through a regular Gmail. So you didn't have some big fancy system.
Right.
You had a list. They responded and you generated over $230,000 in a push of a button. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Okay. So what that's called is the epitome of you don't have a money problem, you have an idea problem.
Correct.
So Matt just gave you a $230,000 idea. Of course, after you build your list, but that list doesn't have to be thousands and thousands. Do you have to have a list of 100,000 people to do that?
No, not at all. I mean, just for the average person, if you just had 10 people say yes, I mean, that's a full year's salary for a lot of people.
Right. Now, here's where the challenge comes, where a lot of people get bogged down. Well, what do I teach? And I know what I'd say to it. I'd say, what are you good at? And I talked about this the other day. There's a lot of people struggling with a lot of stuff. Maybe you're good at, just using Gmail. Let's say you're at your job. I'll just give you an example. Let's say at your job, you're really good at using Gmail. I don't know nothing about Gmail personally. I don't use Gmail, but let's say you were good at it. I guarantee you, if you put an ad on Craigslist, you'll probably get people to say, yeah, I need to learn how to use my Gmail better, and they'll be willing to pay you for it. Would you agree with that, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. One thing I've really discovered that the older I get and the more that I've made this transition to becoming a business owner and now own multiple businesses is that things, and you even alluded to it, it's not the how can I do it, it's who can do it for me. And you are a lot of people's who, right? So there's problems out there that you take for granted that are easy for you to solve, but that's a big challenge for somebody else, and they're looking for you. So I think if you just kind of identify what that problem is that you can solve, and maybe it's being really efficient with Gmail, and being efficient is the word I was looking for. I hit it right on the nose the first time. But if that's it, and you identify a problem out there that people have, like, for example, I look at my inbox, I got 6,000 something unread emails in there, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And like once a year, I just click them all and say read, and it starts at 0 again. But I know there's important stuff in there that I want to see. I know there's things I do want to read. I just don't have an issue navigating through that. So if someone had a program or a system that I could do that would help me navigate that, and so I could pull out all the important stuff, that's a big problem for me. Something I'd be very interested in. So we just did that hypothetical situation into a real
yeah. And how many other people may have similar situations? Yep. I can tell you thousands of them. I got about 2,500 in my email. So I understand. So exactly. That's what we mean by people don't have a money problem. They have an idea problem. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, getting back to real estate is absolutely, where people need to invest their money once they start making some money, or use that as the business to be able to generate money. And the only reason why we keep throwing out these Gmails and different ideas is because people don't have that money problem like they think they do. And they can invest in real estate. They can get involved in business ownership of their own right now, from where you are right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So let me ask you this, Matt, here's a good one for you. I like to ask this question to each one of the speakers because I like to see how they respond.
All right.
Let's say you kind of alluded to earlier. Let's say you lost everything. Let's say, all your house is burned down. You had no more money. You had no, you still had your list. You had your knowledge because the list didn't burn down. But let's say you didn't even have your list. Let's say right now you had to start from scratch. You had a couple $100 in the bank, but you still got what's between your head. What would you do the next 30 days to dig yourself out of a hole so you could be back on top? What would you start doing? Step by step, what would you do?
Well, I'd be looking for property owners with problems. Things like people that own property that are going through pre-foreclosure. They are dealing with a divorce. They're dealing with a death in the family, bankruptcy, disease, addiction. They might have liens or code violations on their houses. So all this stuff is pretty readily available through public records. So I'd pull all of that. So these are all people that have a problem to where a fast sale of their property might alleviate or completely get rid of that problem for them. And so I would start, let's see, from there, I could take that list and I'll go and do what's called skip tracing. And I can pull the phone numbers from all of those addresses. And then it could be as easy as just sending out a broadcast, whether it's a ringless voicemail broadcast or a texting broadcast saying, hey, I saw a friend shared with me your property at such and such, would you consider selling it? And just send out a bunch of those. So kind of like a version of that 9-word email, but I'd be sending out to property owners. And then a certain percentage of those will call me back. I would present offers. And then a certain percentage of those offers I presented would get accepted. And now I've got these deals, these contracts, control of these properties via a purchase agreement. And then I go out and find a buyer that would want to buy that property. So that's probably how I do it. That's how I get back on my feet right away.
Wow. It's funny how simple you make that sound. And I know it really is that simple.
It is.
For you.
Yeah.
Because you have the knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I believe there's no doubt in my mind that if you wanted to right now, you said, Stephen, I'm going to prove how this would work. This might be a great idea for you, by the way. You say, I'm going to prove how this works. You go to a market where you have no money, no knowledge, no nothing, and you do exactly what you just said. And I would guarantee in 30 days, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties under contract and put $10, $15, $20,000 in your bank account, just like that.
Yep. We're actually doing that right now, but we're not wasting our time with 30 days. We're doing it in 10 days. So.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I already know that's possible because I know what your ability is. And the only reason why you can do it is not that you're better than anyone else. It's that you just have a skill set that they just haven't learned. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted you to be on this show because, there's very few real estate investors on this show. But if I'm going to bring someone on, I'm going to bring you on because I know you're not just selling books about it. You're not just doing infomercials about it. You live it every single day. And that's the reason why, I knew the people that are listening to this message, I really hope you grasp what you just heard. Because what he just said can be done when you know how to do it. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm super fired up about that. And, so let's just kind of wrap it up a little bit. Let's give some tips. Let's get some specifics. Because let's say people right now are in one of 3 positions. One, they're doing well and they want to invest in real estate. Or maybe they're struggling. Maybe they can't find another position right now. They got misplaced in their job and they have some cash and they're looking for something to do. Or they have no money and they're just hungry. They want to do something and real estate is appealing to them now. Maybe this sparked that fire to say, I want to get involved in real estate investing. Give them 3 generic tips that they can do right now to start on the path to success.
Okay. So the first category you mentioned was someone that is doing well and would want to invest in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And so this will be the third time this has come up on this call. It might not be the best solution for you to go to figure out how to do it, but to look for someone who can do it for you. And there's a industry out there called turnkey real estate investing. And it's essentially where you go and meet with this person or contact this person. They present you with some properties. The house has already been fixed up. There's a tenant in place. The property management is already in position. I got the financing all set up for you. And so you turn the key, and a cash producing asset, a passive income producing asset, is handed over to you.
Well, stop right there, really quick. Sure. Stop right there. I'm going to go throw a plug in because I know you're not going to, but I'm going to throw a plug in because when you go to our website, you're going to see Matt and Mercedes' contact information there. They have a turnkey project just like that. I just want you guys to know that if that sounds like you and this may fit, you can go to our website, contact them, and they definitely can walk you through their process. Absolutely. So I know you weren't going to say anything, but I want to just throw that in there because I know that is one person that's out there.
Thank you. Yeah, and through that link, whatever you put up there will make the Frustrated Investor's Guide to Passive Income available, and it kind of walks them through the process and the steps in a little bit more detail, what I just went through.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. One person. That's number one.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the next person would be, I don't know, what was the second person?
The second one would be maybe someone that has a little bit of money, but they're out of work. Maybe they're just looking for something to do, but they don't want to drain all their savings. They don't want all their money to go bye-bye real quick.
Got it. So kind of what we were talking about, they need to make an investment in themselves, right? They're going to have to learn how to do something. Sitting around doing nothing is certainly not the answer, which a lot of people are kind of freaked out and a little scared and looking around, and they're nervous, and there's a lot of uncertainty. They don't know what they should be doing, and they find themselves, they've actually frozen, and they're waiting, and they're watching, and they're being a witness to the world still moving around them, right? So I think the best case scenario is to be in action at all times, and that action right now would deal with investing in yourself and learning a new skill. And if you want to do real estate investing, then a very basic education can get you really far, and I would do that.
Okay, so that's the second person. And then the third one would be the person that maybe is out of work right now and just hungry. They're looking for something. They may not have a lot of cash, but they want to get educated. So what can that person do if real estate is a direction they would like to take?
Yeah, so do the same thing. We have a program just for that. Through the years, a common interview question, and you asked it yourself, I think. If you had lost everything, had to start all over again, what would you do? And that question got asked of me so many times that I built a free course around it so people could actually get access to that information. And so that would be a very easy place to start and make an investment in yourself, and mostly time. It's at freerealestateinvestingcourse.com. And it's the basics, but it's enough to get the first deal under your belt and put some money in your pocket, and then you get to decide what you want to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. And that website will be on the website as well. And it'll also be inside of our academy as well. So you'll be able to go in and look around and go through it. And definitely Matt will be there for you, because that's the one thing about Matt and Mercedes. They do not just sell you something and disappear. They're hands-on. They're hands-on because they care. They take care of their people. That's why some of the people that's been working with them have been working with them for a long time, because they're the real deal. They're not booksellers. Even though you might even have a book, I don't remember. You used to have the do-over guy. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Selling books is much harder than investing in education.
That's right.
Investing in real estate.
Yeah. So I remember that. But, I can just say right now, Matt, out of all the people that, I could interview, there's nobody more personal that I care about, that I want to interview than you. I appreciate, what you've done. We've been mentors for each other in many different ways. I watch you from afar. I study your videos because they're so amazing on YouTube, and I learn from them. And I just appreciate you. I just appreciate what you've done, the knowledge that, we've shared together, and then you've taken it into real estate and turned it into an empire that you help a lot of people around the world. And
thank you, Stephen. Thank you. And, I've said this many times before, and I know people are listening. It sounds like we're kind of, rubbing each other's back right now, but I would not be here today if I never crossed paths with you. And there are some key things that really transformed my life. Gosh, every time I go into this conversation and I tell you guys, I do get goosebumps. I get them right now, because it's just, I don't know what would have happened if I didn't meet you. I don't know where I would be. I don't think I'd be doing this. I think would probably, I don't know. It's a foggy vision. But there's a couple of things that I got, like when we first met, and I really thought I was, because I had built this music company and I'd done it by the time I was 30. I kind of thought I was hot stuff, and I thought I was smart, and what could anyone teach me, because everyone's struggling in the world, and look at me, I got $1 million in the bank and I built this, and I have no education, no college degree, and I just figured it out. So I had this attitude of just figure it out. And I went into a new field when I started working with you, and I bumped my head a lot and got really frustrated. I was like, wait a minute, how are these guys doing so well at all this? And I'm smarter than them. And if they can do it, I can certainly do it, but I wasn't doing it. And so I just kind of like, okay, let's eat a big piece of humble pie and just kind of surrender and follow what my mentor was telling me to do. And I did. And so that was the first part. I was like, okay, I'm making this too complicated. Steven makes this really simple. Let me just do what he does. That was the first thing. The second thing was with your daily tracker, which we adopted and incorporate inside of our program over here. That was such a powerful tool. It's such a low-tech tool, so simple, but it really taught me what work looked like. I remember you standing next to me at the desk, and you're saying, okay, go ahead, pick up the phone and dial. And I picked up the phone and dialed, and no one answered. And I said, okay, now what? He goes, pick it up and dial another number. And then every time I did that, I had to put a little ticky mark on the little score sheet. And after doing that for a week right there with you by my side, it was like, oh, we got results. We made some money. And this is what work actually looked like. I never got to see what work looks like. And that was really groundbreaking. And then the third thing that I got really from you was, and I was a big self-help junkie of books right before I met you. And I had a lot of cassette tape programs even. I don't know if they sell them on cassette tapes anymore, but they just made me feel good. I'd listen to them and I'd go, yeah, and I'd be all charged. I'd walk away with some confidence and I was motivated. But when we had this book of the month club or whatever that we went through, it was Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. I have it sitting right there. It's underneath a bunch. I'd hold it up. I'll knock over that tower of books I have over there. But what I got from that was you read the book and then you actually did what it said to do. So to me, it was like, oh, I feel really good and confident. I'm gonna go out and conquer the world now. But to you, it was like almost like an instruction manual. Like a to-do list was crafted from the book. And to be able to have that experience working with you in that sense, I've never looked at a book, a self-help or a self-improvement or just self-education type book ever the same way again. And so now every book I've read since I met you has had so much more value than it would have ever had. So those are all three very transformational things, and I wouldn't have had those if I hadn't met you. So thank you, Steven.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that, Matt. And well, thank you, man. I can't wait to hang out. I can't wait till this COVID thing is out so we can get back and do some live events.
Yeah, no kidding.
Come back out to Vegas and hang out and all that good stuff, because it's crazy. But I can tell you right now, I just want everybody to hear this loud and clear from this message. I hope you grasp and you watch this over and over again, because the one thing I want to convey to you is that you have hope. There's hope. You can do something. You're one idea away from success. And your success is a decision away. You got to make a decision that you're going to succeed. And then, if you want to get involved in real estate investing, go to our website, check out Matt, find out what's a good fit for you, and then take advantage of it and go after it. He'll pull those ideas right out of your head, and you'll be in a different tax bracket. You do. So, yeah, Matt, thanks for being here, bro. I appreciate you, man.
You bet. Love you, Steven.
I love you too, Matt. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right.